Hey, 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 welcome back to Tea with Tea. Today we're going to talk about the problem with perfect. We all know the world is full of pressures, internal, external. We've got social media and our peers, we've got self comparison and negative self talk. And while the internet makes it easier than ever to connect with people all over the world and really find your tribe, it also makes it easier than ever to compare yourself with people and feel like you're the only one falling short. I'm sure you've heard people call social media people's highlight reels. Very few people post the negatives in their life on social media. It's all positives, or it's the glitz and glamour of celebrities. We have influencers living their lives and showing off, you could almost say, them living all over the world and traveling and, working from their cell phones and feeling trapped in your own life. And it's very hard to regulate that sometimes, to really be aware and remind yourself constantly that just because you see that, that's not their entire life. I know that a lot of people have found value in unplugging and literally taking themselves away from the temptation to compare and the temptation of social media, to really stop looking at it so much and stop using it as a unit of measure for themselves. And sometimes you just can't. It's easy to tell yourself, oh, well, I'll just unfollow the blogs that make me feel bad about myself. I'll just stop following this person and that person. And who really needs to know about the Kardashians anyway? And you have to find what works for you. I know I'm not immune to it. Lord knows I've lost countless hours of my life to window shopping in other people's lives, comparing myself and finding myself short compared to what they've accomplished. But it doesn't give you the context of their lives. Me comparing myself to someone who I wouldn't say has never had to struggle, but had a lot more in their life handed to them than me, they had an advantage, and it's unfair of me to get down on myself when I'm not acknowledging the steps ahead that they may have had or the struggles that I had that they did not have. And I'm working on remembering that the dissatisfaction with myself didn't exist until I decided I should be like someone else, or I should be more like other people. When I unplug from the comparison game, I'm more at home in my own life and more relaxed in regards to how I treat myself. I've heard that expectation is at the heart of disappointment. So if I stay in the moment and focus on myself and the circumstances that I've been through that have made me, I stop getting bummed that I'm not keeping up with the Joneses or other people. And really the biggest problem with perfect is that it doesn't exist. We all have struggles, circumstances, events that make up who we are, and we would not be us without them. So to compare, that old adage, it's apples and oranges. They're both a fruit, so you can still compare them, I feel. I feel it would be more appropriate to say it's honey and vinegar. They're both very necessary in their own ways. You would never use honey for the things you need to use vinegar for, and vice versa. They're both equally important, but they are not in the same way. They're not the same thing in any way, and that's important. We need both of them, just like we need every single person with their different flares and different emotions, different experiences, different perspectives. We need all of that to create a balance. There is no one more youer than you, and that's truer than true. I think I'm paraphrasing that from Seuss, Dr. Seuss, but that's important. No one can be you but you. And if anyone else were you, they would make the same exact choices, decisions, and thoughts that you have made. There's, when people are like, oh, well, if I were you, I would do X, Y, and Z. No. And I've said this before. If someone were you, they would do everything the exact same way. Just like if you were someone else, you would do everything the exact same way, because you are the sum of your experiences. You're not the sum of Tom's experiences. That has nothing to do with you. Tom's life could go up in smoke, knock on wood for this imaginary person, but Tom's life could go up in smoke and your life would be none the wiser unless you're subscribing to his life. And that's one thing that does kind of confuse me about people who are famous just for being famous. You know, you're so plugged into this complete stranger's life that you're affected on whether or not they were cheated on or they had highs or lows or anything in between. But they don't know you and you don't know them besides what they've shown you. So why are you so invested? If it's negative and detrimental to your self-esteem and your self-worth, why continue it? It's one thing, like, if you're a fan from afar, like, yes, I'm a fan of this person. I like to, just kind of get updates on what they're doing, but like, it doesn't affect me either way. That's one thing. Being a fan is one thing. Being like a crazy stan where, oh, they were blue and they've decided that they're vegan, so now I have to upend my entire life to do the same thing. That's not healthy. And I think that you need to kind of evaluate why that is happening and why you're taking that stance and get to the root of it and try and figure out, is it because you're adrift and you're looking for connection, you're looking for direction, or are you just lost and, looking for a tribe? Because there are ways to find a tribe that are more true to you rather than just deciding that someone else's life is going to be the template for your own. Wasn't there like a contest or something where someone famous was like, if you go vegan, then I'm going to give you X, Y, or Z. It's one thing if you're like, hey, I've always been curious about going vegan. Sure, let me give it a try. But if it doesn't work out for me, then I'm going to stop doing it. Again, that is completely different than I need to flip my entire life upside down. And even though going vegan is detrimental to my health and my budget and my family life, I'm going to do it because this celebrity told me to do it. Obviously, that is not a healthy approach. Veganism is not for everyone. And a lot of veganism is not sustainable for the planet, not just for people. For some people, yeah, it's not sustainable for them. But a lot of practices for veganism are not sustainable for the planet, or for the sake of saving animals, they forsake regular people. I'll put some links in the show notes about examples of how veganism is not necessarily victimless. But that's neither here nor there. Let's focus. Now, it's always easy to say, here's how you can fix it. And just like anything else relating to mental health, what works for someone may not work for you, but it doesn't hurt to give it a shot. So at least you can get a feel for what works for you. If you don't try anything because you're busy waiting for a magic bullet, then you're never going to get better. You have to take the little steps. Everything in mental health and self-care is an accumulation of little steps that finally help you get to where you're going. And some things that you can do are, like we mentioned, you can unplug, physically deleting apps or unfollowing people who end up being problematic for your self-esteem or your self-image. Another one is building like a support group, having a group of friends who feel similarly, or just a group of friends who you can all just kind of boost each other up, cheer each other on. Women tend to already have groups like this, but they aren't always as focused on the uplifting part. Sometimes it's just kind of like, oh, well, whatever we feel like talking about. But the problem with that is sometimes it can sway into the negative, and we want to stay positive. Men tend to not have big threads like this because I've noticed, and psychologically this is also backed up. I can also put links to this in the show notes. But men tend to leave their emotional baggage and their emotional thoughts. They tend to leave that for their romantic partner to untangle. And women tend to share the load and all work together to help, each other. Men don't tend to do that in friendships, but they should.
Oh, no.
Because it's so necessary.
No.
We'll talk another time about emotional labor and things like that. So another way to kind of combat window envy, or or feeling bad about yourself in comparison to others, is to start a gratitude journal, to be mindful and just try every day to write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Not just, in things that happened in the day, but things that make you and make your life yours. And it helps put it in perspective for you. For a while, I was doing a gratitude journal and I felt really, really good about it. I felt like I was realizing things that were special about me in my life that were really helpful, and it was helping me. But then when I started to go through a bit of a down spell, I found myself going the opposite and feeling like, oh, well, there's nothing for me. I'm nothing special. My life is nothing special. And while I didn't go and compare myself to others, I was just so trained when I'm depressed. I fall back on what I'm trained. And what I've been trained is that I'm not special and I'm not good looking, and as though my worth is dependent on my looks. And then I started to go into a different tactic because, like I've said in a video that I made on our YouTube channel, that depression is like a virus. It morphs and it finds new ways to attack, new avenues to tackle and get into. And it switched tactics. And instead of attacking me because of my looks, because again, I really don't care about my looks. That sounds bad, but I don't put any of my value into how I look. I've been really embracing comforting nihilism lately, and pretty much we're all going to die. So what does it matter if I don't wear trendy clothes? I can be quote unquote pretty and wear heels and all this stuff and be supremely uncomfortable. Or I can just wear leggings and say, fuck it. It doesn't matter. I'm going to die someday, and on my deathbed, I'm not going to look back and think, man, I wish I'd worn more ball gowns. Man, I wish I'd worn that corset. No. If I want to wear the things, I'll wear the things. But if I don't want to, I'm not going to. I read something once that said, everything's in fashion if you don't give a shit. And that really kind of set me free. That really helped. And one thing that I've noticed in my time, both as a marketer and just as a human woman in America, I've noticed that a lot of things depend on you feeling bad about yourself in order to get you to want/need other things. For example, a lot of the beauty industry depends on making you feel bad about yourself in order to sell you a product. So Jameela Jamil, founder of I Weigh, actress, activist, all-around wonderful human being, tweeted about an ad campaign from Avon that essentially was body-shaming women for having cellulite for the sole purpose of selling them an anti-cellulite cream. I will put links to that in the show notes. And she blasted them because if you can only sell someone a product by making them feel bad about themselves, you're manipulating them into wanting that product. They don't actually need that product. There is no issue with cellulite. It's not a health issue. It's just the way that fat is stored in bodies. Big whoop, everyone has cellulite in one form or fashion. So she was essentially lambasting them for having that ad campaign, and they acknowledged that they were in the wrong and they pulled the campaign. And that's just one example of how you are taught through society's exposure that you're not good enough and you need to be better. And how you'll get better is by hiding who you are under fashion, under makeup, under losing weight, under X, Y, or Z. And if you want those things, have at it. Absolutely. Go off, sis. I have a friend who she is not herself unless she's in heels. Do you, boo? Absolutely. Whatever makes you feel like the baddest bitch in your life, do it. Do it. Sometimes I do enjoy a heel. I prefer wedges though, just because they're more stable. And while they don't always have a platform, they've got more of a platform than just like a straight stiletto. There's a whole science behind it. Plus, I have my fingers crossed, but one day I'd like to find wedges where the heel actually opens for like a storage thing. I feel like I've seen it done in a movie, typically by like an assassin or someone who's storing like poison or something in her heel. But I'm about it. Anyways, if I want to wear a wedge or a heel, I'm going to wear a wedge or a heel. If I don't, and I just want to wear fucking Sperry's and leggings, I'm going to rock the shit out of those Sperry's and leggings. Some people think of like, leggings and sweatshirts as like, oh, that's the depression gear. Like something's wrong with you. And someone else is like, this is the most comfortable thing I have. I'm going to rock it. And whatever your reasoning, do it for you. I read something once that said, the best way to fight against a society that wants to change you is to just be who you are. And sometimes that's the most radical thing you can do. Put your blinders on, focus on yourself, and be the youest you. Because if you aren't playing into that, I guess, biological imperative to always want more and always compare yourself to others, then you've already won. By not needing to compare yourself to others, you don't have to worry about, well, what do they have that I don't have? And I wish I had that just because they had that. You'll be more present in your own life, and you'll find happiness in you. And that's something that I did struggle with a lot growing up, just, being happy with myself. A lot of that was because I was, really struggling with my self-identity, with my self-image, with my self-esteem, my relationship with myself. And a lot of that was point blank because I'm constantly essentially being brainwashed by society because it's telling me, you should look more like this person. You should probably weigh at least 70 pounds less. These other girls, they look like this. You don't. So that needs to be fixed. And it's like, actually, no, it doesn't need to be fixed. None of that, nothing of me needs to be fixed, short of a health concern. And not like, oh, obesity is a health concern. No, get the fuck out of my face. We're not here. If you're here for fat shaming, you can leave. Please do. Block me. Quick tangent, because if I don't say this, I'm going to be furious. People who are concerned with fat people's health do it under the guise of concern. If someone is skinny, they're automatically created in this observer's mind as they're the goal. They're healthy. You should strive to be more like them. And it's like, there are loads of skinny people who are unhealthy. I have friends who they are skinny and the body type I wanted when I was in high school. And it's like, they're like, I wish I could gain 10 pounds, but I physically cannot. I'm doing everything I can, but I'm always this skinny and I just wish I wasn't. The grass is always greener on the other side until you realize the work that goes into the other side. So just focus on watering your damn grass. If you ever say to someone that your concerns are over their weight, go fuck yourself. Someone's weight is not your concern. And that applies even to medical professionals because a lot of them use, oh, I'm a medical professional as a way to hide the fact that they're straight up fat shaming. There are so many documented instances where, a health professional straight up says to someone, well, we need to focus on your weight. I'm not here for my weight. I'm here because of PCOS or another thing that's unrelated to weight. And they're like, oh, well, if you just lost some weight, that would fix your issue. No, it wouldn't. Anyways, so sorry. That's just one thing. Like a lot of times growing up, the closest thing that really cut me was being body shamed because I was thick. And so I was put in one of two camps because I was thick growing up. I need to lose weight and I'm overweight and I just don't realize it. Or, oh, well, with a body like that, like you must be an adult. Like, no, you fucking disgusting ass pedophile. I'm not asking for it because I have thighs. I'm not asking for it because I have hips. Like, no, my breasts at a young age are not an invitation for you to holler at me. Fucking nasty asses. Anywho. This has quickly turned into like Therese reliving past traumas and lashing out. I'm so sorry, guys. Back on topic. But sometimes comforting nihilism is just like the easiest, most effective answer to any time you doubt yourself, anytime you find yourself comparing yourself. Just know it doesn't matter. Whether this person has something or not, it doesn't matter. You think someone's prettier than you, it doesn't matter because we're all going to die. So have that other piece of cake, wear the sparkly makeup, go out in your PJs, stay home, go out, do whatever you want because it doesn't matter. We're all going to die. And the least we can do is enjoy the one life we get, right? I mean, I've heard this saying before, we're not here for a long time, we're here for a good time. And there are a lot of people who are so hell-bent on extending their life, that they forget to actually enjoy their life. I'm sure we've all heard that, parable or anecdote about the person who, they dieted, they exercised, they did everything right, and then they just stepped off the curb and got hit by a car. And it's like, there's no diet that's going to save you in instances like that. There's no exercise that can prevent you from being run over by a bus. So enjoy your life. Like when people shame other people for having interests that they think are embarrassing, like being in a fandom. I've had so many people try to shame me over my lifetime about Harry Potter. But their fight is a losing one from the start because I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what you think about Harry Potter. I love it. I love it. I love the friendships that I've found through it. I love the stories that I've read. Not just like canon Harry Potter books, but fan fiction and fan art. Like all the things, the content that I've consumed over my lifetime that have spun from this one thing. I regret none of it. And I don't understand why people shame other people for having something that they like and they enjoy. And just like those people are more invested in ripping other people to shreds instead of, enjoying something for themselves, that's their fault. That's their problem. At the end of their life, they're going to wish that they had done things that they liked instead of ripping apart what other people like. Like never in my life has preventing someone from doing something that they like brought me any kind of joy or excitement or anything. So I can't imagine it's any different for bullies, because that's what they are, bullies. So this is where I leave you this week. I want to challenge you all to let yourself be yourself without fear or guilt or shame. For example, I'm a Cancer. I'm super emotional, and I spent a good part of the last week or so trying not to cry. I was very frustrated with some of the health stuff I've been struggling with, and in trying not to cry over my frustrations with that and other things, it started to spill over because I kept telling myself, Therese, you don't have to cry over everything. Just hold it together. You don't have time to cry right now, and trying to soldier on, and it just made it worse. So once I finally did cry, it was like a weight off my shoulders, and I was able to leave that shameful churning in my gut and in my chest behind because I needed to cry. There's no shame in giving myself what I need. And I want you guys to do that for yourself. So this week, if you want to indulge in something or do something, but you think, oh, well, I shouldn't, fuck that. Do the thing. That's your challenge this week. So remember, Everything that we've talked about will be in the show notes, and all of our social media will be in the description box below. I can't wait to see you guys next week. Have a good one. People, oh no, what's this?
Bum. Bum.
Thank you.
Bum. Pikachu. Pikachu.
Yeah, that's Pikachu. You can have that.
Pikachu.